Today,
Oh, well.
we're going to do some social exploration. We're going to look at social metrics and measurement and try and pick up a few tips about how to use social to build your community and brand. This week, the guests are my buddy from the Regulator Show. Justin Parks is here with us. And Justin, now I've introduced you. Tell us what you got to say there, brother. What's a good word today?
I'm going to swear now. You do realise that, just to prepare you. Yeah, it's been shite so far, to be honest. An absolute crap fucking day. So hopefully this will tie it up nicely and make it sweet. There you go. Grand, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, am I meant to talk about SEO or something then? No.
Pardon me?
Am I meant to talk about SEO or something intelligent now? No.
Oh, okay, we're doing social today. That SEO is the other program there, Justin.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to talk about social.
Okay. Well, that's what you do, isn't it?
No.
Oh,
I haven't done social in years, man.
Oh, okay. You were the one who showed me how to do it. Anyhow, moving on, we have Marjorie Steele from Creative Onion. Correct, Marjorie?
Ish. I mean, I am Creative Onion. My official business name is Creative Web Business, but I'm actually in-house right now and am not officially contracting. So I am Creative Onion. You can say that.
I know that feeling.
Right?
All day long.
Creative, anyhow.
Right. Something like that.
Yeah.
Is it because you make your clients cry? Is that what creative...
Quite frankly.
Is that what the Onion thing's about, like?
It's because I get so many creative questions like that about what my name means. I just like hearing people interpret what they think Creative Onion means. I guess my poetry background makes me appreciate how different people can interpret it different ways. I don't know. So it means whatever it means to you.
Onions make me cry.
Okay there, Justin. I'm kind of supposed to be in charge here, so... You know.
Go for it.
Okay, well, it's hard with you. You're the star of every show you're in. I guess also the next guest is Adele, and I keep saying this wrong. It's Tiblier?
Yes, very good.
That's I have a little bit of French being from Canada, so
well,
I originally thought it was Triblier.
Oh, no R at the front, just at the end.
Oh, right. So I changed that. It was spelt wrong everywhere. I had to go back and fix it all. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Adele.
As you mentioned earlier, I've been in online marketing since, I guess, 95, 96. I'm in-house now for the largest 3D model marketplace in the world. So we're a two-sided market, so we have a lot of social outreach. I do all the SEO as well, but social with an emphasis on the SEO side. We do a lot of outreach to our artists, which are all over the world, about 16,000 of them. And then we have about 2 million customers. So it's an interesting blend of conversation and content based on which market we have to sort of stroke the ego of today or tomorrow.
I've never heard it put better. Stroke that ego. Let's not call it social anymore. Let's just call it stroke the ego
stroke
media.
Optimization, yes.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel. But technical SEO, you mentioned earlier. I don't know how many folks were on when we were chatting about it. You have to learn the code and learn all the pieces because no one else seems to understand how to do it, especially back in the 90s, mid 90s when everything sort of started. So you just had to pick up the ball and run with it whenever you could and however you could and see what worked. That's it. You had to be everything. So
yeah. Well,
I'm actually on vacation today, so pardon my. Yeah, exactly.
Servers. There was no GA. There was keyword research was a gleam in our eyes.
Yeah.
So moving on, seem to have Justin fixated here.
I'm sleeping.
Trying to figure out how you remove this camera thing. I guess you don't. Uh, so when you're measuring your social, the hardest thing I've found is to find real things that are really measurable and are going to measure what your activity for the business. And that's how you kind of make the budget feasible. I guess that was the word I was looking for. For me, that's been very tough. Well, mainly because I think social is just a bunch of smoke and mirrors anyhow, but that's just my personal opinion. I was late to the game, and Justin taught me all I knew, so there we go.
That's why he's so good at it.
Yeah. Okay. Adele, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it is a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think that there are some valuable metrics on the back end. People that sort of tote themselves as social media experts only and don't really dabble in the other, the full circle of online marketing. I think that they focus on sort of bullshit metrics like followers and tweets, and and that's all crap to me. I don't care how many followers I have. If the message and the content is good and it gets carried to other distribution methods, then fabulous. And if it brings more people back to the site, even better. And if I can show that those people came to the site and they did one of two things: they either published content or they actually purchase something that we offer, then that's the only two metrics I really need. Other than that, we just like to keep the voice out there, and then putting links and everything, even with no follows, it really doesn't matter. I still like to have links, and everything needs to draw back to the site and whatever it is that I want to push that day, or that we have whatever we have sort of a focus on pushing. So more than anything, I use it as a link building. I use it as content marketing. And then in the hopes that we can get a few more people to see who we are if they happen to be in this space and they happen to be the audience that we would like to reach, great. Otherwise, it's just another tool in the kit. It's, it's the tiny screwdriver that you can only use every once in a while to open the bottom of a computer, but it's a tool that I use regularly. I don't see a lot of value in it, but I've seen increased value. I can tell you now, I hate Pinterest. I think it's ridiculous, but
Steve makes a living off of Pinterest.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do, but for B2B, and that's what right now I specialize in, I don't see a huge focus on it. Now, if I was selling something, to housewives in Tennessee, then by all means, tattoos. Pinterest is exactly where, tattoos and crafts, great. But other than that, it's just not my thing.
Yeah. And Marjorie, your thoughts on social signals and metrics that you use there?
Well, I'm in a little bit of a unique situation. Like Adele, I used to specialize mostly in B2B. Have worked a lot with manufacturers. I was in an ad agency for about I was in a development agency for about 6 months, ago. But I've really been focusing on my in-house position here at 616. And our focus since about 2010 has been primarily brand building. And we have used almost exclusively social and online digital efforts to build that. As we've had more projects, PR has come into play and has helped us out a lot. But the truth is that to this day, we actually only have fewer than 60 residents, but we have a tremendous following. We have over 500 followers on Facebook, which isn't that big, but considering the fact that we only have about 60 residents, it's decent, and our Twitter following is significant. But we don't really look at. We look at the numbers, and those are always nice and shiny to bring to my boss and say, look, our numbers went up this month, as they should every month. But the really big thing that we have been working on and that we keep an eye on is brand building. And that's pretty much exclusively what we have used social for. So we have paid much more attention to the conversation, to our audience, to who is attracted to our message, what kinds of messaging create engagement, what conversations people are interested in talking about, and then we capitalize that to obviously increase engagement by having conversations that our audience finds interesting. And the 616, my current in-house position, is interesting because we have a B2B arm of the company, which is development, and then we have a B2C arm of the company, which is property management. So we get to dabble in both of those, but we have found that keeping an eye on brand engagement and really looking at the conversation and topics and who the key influencers in our audience are and how they are engaging with us, those are the things that we've found to be most valuable. And in a few short years, we've built a really, really prominent brand here in the city that we're pretty proud of. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Justin, your thoughts? I know you do. You don't say you do social, but I know you look at it.
I do. I do it. I don't do it so much personally anymore. It's more again for the business because I'm focused so much on the semi in-house role. But I still come up against the horrible show that it has value to the guys that sign the checks.
Yeah.
And no matter what we do, and no matter what we've tested, the only way that any social channel has proven to be worthwhile is to pay for it. And by that I mean like Facebook advertising. I mean we don't spend a lot of time, writing tweets and looking for ways to engage people because it doesn't really suit our market either. I think we learned that the hard way by trying for ages and just getting no result. But we found that we could find the people who wanted to purchase the product by paying for the advertising. So that just worked. So we went with it. But what we found that really, really worked well for the guys I'm with, which is manufacturer in Canada, was customer support. And just saying to people, look, this is another way you can get with us. You got a problem, you got a question, you want to do this or you want to do that. We got massive engagement from that. And then they dropped the program because they just didn't have the resources to keep it up to scratch. So social's brilliant if you can find a way to make it work. That's the hardest part. But you've got to go through every hoop and jump up and down and have the arguments and the big long-winded conversations to try and prove that it works every single time, I think. And every new one that comes out, like you were saying there about Pinterest, as soon as it hits it, right, okay, we have to try it, we have to test it, we have to do this, we have to spend the time on it and go from there.
Yeah.
But, it's got a place. I just don't think it's as big a place as what people thought it was going to be. I think it's just a small segment of the big pie.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah. One of the tools that is out there, I'm a big believer that if you're going to do social media, you have to measure influence properly. And you have to look at influencing as actual influence, not measuring reach, which is every tool that said it measures influence actually measures reach. And maybe if you're lucky, amplification. One of my favorites to kick around on this one is clout. Their influence is total
crap.
Bulls, and what comes out of the opposite end of bulls is what it is. Because what they're actually measuring is reach. So to use how do you actually try and measure influence? Adele, have you had any experience with measuring influence?
For us, it's really more finding people that are active in the communities that we need to be or have conversations within. I find that those people, whether they post on a regular basis or not, if they're people that others seem to comment on, that they have influence. It's not about the numbers. It's about their activity within that community. And sometimes those communities are very, very small. That's one thing I have loved about the Google Plus side of things. Those communities, I think, are easier to reach. It's easier for me to sort of seed content into the communities and see where it goes, but I also can see the return from that from the SEO side, because I'm seeing more clicks coming from it because it's showing up, because lo and behold, Google loves Google. They're not really fans of Facebook and Twitter. Granted, it shows up.
Isn't
but,
that a fact?
I mean, it's just obvious to me. If you're going to put
this woman's the master of understatement.
it's obvious, People are, put your videos on Vimeo, put your stuff on, Flickr. I'm like, no, put that crap on things that Google owns and keyword the hell out of it. And they're like, why? Because Google owns it. It's obvious, but people don't see the obvious, and they're still trying to play with whatever the flavor of the week is. But if you've got an influencer in one area, generally the influencer will also carry that message across multiple platforms, so you don't have to chase them across multiple social channels. You give it to them in one place. If it's good, they'll carry it to their community across all of the channels they're in. And then they do the work, and you don't have to, but you reap the benefit.
Marjorie, you were agreeing with Adele there. What do you think of that?
I mean, obviously, from my vigorous nodding, I couldn't agree more. I think that people often try to jump on board the latest flavor of the week and put everything on all space. Vimeo is a place where we can share video. Let's put it there too. So I think that knowing your audience and knowing where they're actually having conversations and then making your time efficient by only spending time there is really important. I mean, knowing your audience is obviously the number one rule to any kind of marketing. In terms of really getting engagement, I think that there are benefits to doing social media management in-house because you have more depth, you have more opportunity to interact with your sales team, with your customer service team, which I think can be a tremendous asset in measuring real engagement, because the truth is that the online space is not the only area that you find evidence of engagement. In fact, the truth is that the best way to find out how you're really engaging your community is to actually literally talk to them. So a few ways that I have found to be able to manage that pretty difficult task. I work pretty closely with my boss, with the owner of the company, on the B2B end of things. So he gives me feedback directly about email newsletter content, what resonated well, what didn't, because people actually contact him directly. And the same goes for our customer service side of things. I regularly check in with our customer service team and ask them what people are talking about, what kinds of content was really engaging. One of my favorite tools that I find really, really useful on Facebook is the Insights. If you go to the main Insights dashboard, and then it gives you the little breakdown there in that column of virality, and you can actually see how each post that you did performed, how it went viral, what kind of reach you got as a result of it. And I have used that as a really, really useful metric to see what kinds of content are most engaging. Obviously, photos and videos tend to do the best. But I have also used it to keep my finger on the pulse of what kinds of conversations our audiences want to have and what types of local activities in the community are going on that they're most interested in. And so to use that as a constant way to test and measure and then rinse and repeat and have that influence our content strategy, which is an entire matrix. So those are a few ways that I've found to measure true engagement.
Okay. And Justin, you have any thoughts on...
That's a difficult one. Our engagement came from customer support. I guess that's what I was saying before. Because any outreach that we did, our target market was, I think it existed on social networks. It was just too hard to find at that time. This is like maybe 12 to 14 months ago. So it's changed again, obviously, and we just haven't bothered or haven't had the resource to go back to it, to be absolutely frank. So yeah, I don't know. Social's a weird one because it's a bit of a bucking horse for me as well, because it'll work one week and then it won't work the next week, depending on whether the weather's good or there's a holiday or what the hell's going on. Like, there's too much flux. I think we came across something the other day that was quite interesting, and it crosses over to SEO slightly.
You're getting close.
I'm trying my best not to swear, man. Give me a fucking break. I see. Look, killing me here, Terry.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we found crossover one day there where we took a drop in some stats in Norway, and we were trying to figure out what was going on because we had launched a Facebook campaign in conjunction with some AdWords advertising, and we had pushed this whole thing out, but we hadn't checked the date, and it turns out that the 17th, which was just last month, was National Constitution Day in Norway. So we buggered it up by going too technical and just not checking the damn dates for that country. No, we didn't lose money and we didn't suffer for it because it just rolled over until the next week, but it surely didn't have the same impact. And by God, you could see it in the graphs for the insight stuff on Facebook because it just hit the floor. And there was no activity because they were all off in the Fords or wherever the hell Norwegians go for a good time.
Yeah.
Doing Norwegian stuff. They weren't on the internet interested in engaging and doing whatever we did. So balancing the real world side of it, man, against the technical side is a major thing that we tend to forget sometimes. Especially over here in Europe. I think the States are a wee bit easier because it's kind of, you've got your one date for everything. But state by state, there must be regional stuff. But in terms of actually finding influencers and engaging the community, to be absolutely honest with you, we use Google Analytics to see what's happening and where stuff's being heard from. We don't tend to over-engage with actual users because they just don't engage. That's the type of market that we're dealing with. We haven't bothered with B2B because we've just found it too time-consuming and too expensive. And there's easier ways to reach that market. So social's just been a real pain in the hole for us, to be absolutely blunt.
But a lot of your stuff, Justin, is going through a franchise system too, right? So
there's that on the end.
Social is should be big on their platters locally.
Dude, that conversation is like trying to tell someone that how to set up an email account, and you have to remind them that it's 2013, and they still can't fucking do it. So, Twitter, and what's this, and Vine, and Pinterest, and, I've got Facebook, but I don't really look at it. The kids use it. I just do it because the kids are on it. That's the type of age group that we're dealing with and the businesses that we've got on board. And, there's 300 dealers in the network that these guys have worldwide. So I ain't fucking doing courses to try and train them and all that stuff, man. There's not enough hours in the day. Yeah. And because of the cross-culture and cross-language stuff, it's incredibly difficult to bring them all up to a standard that you need while controlling the brand message that's going out. So again, you revert back to trying to do it in-house. But you can't, because you have to hire a nation of multilingual people in order to actually have the reach that you need. It's insane. I just find it there's better channels that give a better result at a better price at this time. And social, like I said, social's great for us in terms of dealing with customers and customer support in a public way, which comes across great for the brand because we get seen to be dealing with their problems and sorting it out. That's what works.
We do the same, Justin.
Now, sorry, did you have something to say, Adele? You wanted to...
I was just adding, we do the same. We use it a lot for that monitoring of customer happenings, things that they don't tend to call. We have a support line. We have 24/7, but they'll still, a lot of them will take to Twitter or Facebook like, this piece of crap didn't work. And it's like, hey, did you reach out? And I'll talk to our customer support team and say, look, did you get anyone with this name? I'll look up their user ID and say, look, did you get a call from any of these folks? Are they just bitching to bitch, or did they actually call in and want help with it? Or are they just one of those people that likes to complain? And we've actually found a few things through monitoring that were beyond sort of a customer support that would have blown up into much bigger incidences. But because we caught them and we reached out, it became thanks so much. We got to work with them. We got to take stuff offline that could have been a lot uglier.
That's the type of publicity, Adele, you just can't buy. You
can't buy it. And then even when they do tend to go off, like everything we'll send them, like when we try to take it offline, they put everything, I'm going to take everything you've sent me and put it on a Tumblr. Well, engaging with them and talking to them and getting them through it and sort of talking them off the ledge, then they take it down. So, you can't put a price or value on it.
Even if you don't get them off the ledge and it still turns into a negative, to be seen to talking with them is a massive positive in any respect.
It is.
Because,
Agreed.
as we all probably have experience in some form or fashion, picking up the phone and phoning a company and being passed around and told to dial 1 and move to number 3 and all put hold and move you there. You would love the world to be listening to that conversation, and that's where Facebook works.
Exactly.
Yeah, and specifically Facebook now. I'm not even talking about Twitter, because we just don't. Again, we don't have that reach. It seems to be our generation that we're in tech. I've used Twitter, but Twitter is a weird animal now. It's not the same as what it was 2 years ago or even 3 years ago. And Facebook has stayed pretty consistent over the last while. Yeah. So best publicity you can buy, man, be seen to be dealing with a problem. You know, and every single one that we found, we stopped one which was probably going to be a lawsuit, would have been major egg in our face on Facebook. We dealt with it, and it turned into a thank you, and it's amazing. I'm stunned to this day how many people come in writing complaints the size of the Bible, you know, and by the time you're finished just walking them through it and being seen to deal with it, they're thanking you. Yeah. Sure, I wouldn't be bloody doing it. I wouldn't be saying thanks. If you've caused me a problem, I'm ready to knock you out.
Right.
Yeah.
You're creating brand ambassadors.
Brands,
Steve, you want to add something there? Or?
Yeah, well, we've got some projects where we have fairly significant haters, and they seem to be pretty aggressive at being the first post to talk about how much whatever is crap. And what's nice is we've evolved enough of a following to this point to where we almost don't have to engage those people anymore, because the people that do like us jump all over them. And that's also fun to watch, because now we don't have to be the bad guy. We don't have to come in and tell them why they're wrong or try to redirect the discussion. We just let our fans take care of it for us, and that
Send in
saves
the
us
dogs.
the hassle. Yeah, and then all we have to deal with are actual legitimate complaints, and those are easy to deal with. It's the rabid haters out there that you just have to. You have to
Yeah,
learn
they
they're
brand
always
themselves,
there.
Steve. They kill themselves, mate, because people get fed up listening to that type of fire and brimstone crap from the same people all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
You know? In fact, it's harder to change someone's opinion who likes you than it is to listen to someone who dislikes you. Because if you've got someone on there ranting, you tend to just go, oh, what's this bollocks moaning about now? Even if you find it funny or humorous or something, then most people, like you say, pipe up and say, calm down, will you? Leave us alone. You're just annoying everyone. Go away. And that's great. That's great for business. It's great for brand. If you can get that. You know, it's building that up. That's where the value is.
If you don't like what we have
so,
to say, you can go somewhere else.
That's it. Buy from somebody else. Get it somewhere else.
Go and complain to them.
That's one way.
In fact, I was thinking that would be a great business model, to find all these trolls and hire them to go and annoy people, like all of them at once.
Hire a troll.
That's it.
Oh, hang on, I'm going to get that domain.
You got a new profession there.
Uh-oh. Black Hat Social.
Yeah, if all of this stuff is like hire a blogger and do this and, you know, buy that, no, just hire a troll, man.
Troller. Nice.
Okay, Marjorie, do you have any successful social campaigns that you'd like to talk about where you could pass on some tips on how to use social? I've found mainly for me, it's just another Discovery Channel broadcasting. I don't get all giggly when someone engages with something I've done. I think
I cannot imagine
more
you
of an
getting
annoyance
ever,
than
Terry.
anything, to be quite honest. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I can definitely appreciate that, and I think that I have the benefit of not having been in the SEO industry long enough to be really jaded. I mean, I'm jaded, but I'm not like super jaded. I've only been in it since 2008, which I think is a benefit for being on the social scene.
Yeah, you be careful.
So, I mean, I could talk about PPC, or I could talk about organic. You know, I have worked with, you know, and Justin's right. You can obviously build a very, very good audience if you have the money. And I have built used Facebook PPC to build a following of, over 10,000 fans over the course of like 3 months. And it was a good audience. We used good targeting and they were engaged. Unfortunately, in that particular case, they didn't have the content resources to be able to support that audience for long. But regarding the organic campaigns, and again, I have a rather unique situation because I have the luxury of being in-house and being able to work very closely with the rest of our team. But we have worked very, very hard at using our social tools as real, to get real engagement. And we actually have conversations with real people. So on the property management side of things, we use our Twitter account as a customer service tool, absolutely, and also Facebook. We have a Facebook group set up just for our residents. So if our residents say, one of them locks themselves out of their building, then they can post in the Facebook group, and other people in their building will see them and come down and let them in. They can ask one another questions. So we found that that's a really good way to create engagement within our specific, those very niche customer communities, because another really important part of our brand is building community. We're trying to build that engagement in real life. So we found that things like Facebook groups are a really good way to do that. We also
sorry, Marjorie, can I just ask if you work in a rental market? Is that you manage?
Of course.
What is it exactly?
Really, right. Thank you for making me clarify. I get in my role a little bit too much, and forget that not everyone knows exactly what I do every day. So it's real estate. So there's development. We develop real estate, and then we also manage all of the properties that we develop.
So it's a real property building organization type thing. The reason sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. It's do you use real events in conjunction with the stuff that you're doing, or have you got to that stage yet where you've sort of went like block party, let's all go?
To be completely honest with you, that is one of the tools that we have used, and we plan to make much better use of. We have had a really, really hard time getting actual engagement with people actually coming to a physical event that we host, despite the fact that our communities are within blocks of each other.
That's what I was asking. That's really interesting, actually.
It's so interesting, but on the other hand, we get an incredible amount of engagement online. We have people who reach out to us specifically on Twitter, tweeting us saying, "Do you have apartments free?" We have residents who, tweet us or Facebook us and, tell us how happy they are to move in, or they met their neighbors, or so and so. I mean, so we have actual, and that's, to be quite honest, I mean, those are the kind of metrics that I look at. I look at numbers. I keep track of our insights and,
Sure.
our following growth, but those instances of actual engagement where people are talking to each other in real life in the digital space is how we measure success. Now, obviously, we're still facing the challenge of getting that engagement to translate into real life, which is more difficult than it seems.
Yeah.
Adele, you have anything you'd like to share in that regard?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
There we go.
No, Adele, I've lost sound with Adele.
No.
Can't hear.
Oh, how's that?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. With regards to outreach and different campaigns, I mean, we just try to do something consistent. Having consistency, the most effective things we've done, honestly, is to throw it back really old school and monitor and become active in forums. I mean, forums have been huge for our business. And email. I mean, people still discount the use of really good email and really targeted email, which to me is, again, forums and email were the original social. And that is sort of lost on these new breed of social media people. It's like, look, these are good tools. Use them properly and they'll work very well for you. But what we tend to do is, because it's so content marketing heavy, we find the most success in connecting multiple pieces of social content. So if we have a video, we'll put the video within the blog. We'll post that on Facebook that then links to the video that's on YouTube. The YouTube then links back to the blog. And you sort of create that little chain that brings people to all of them, so they all bring them back to the site.
That's also how you can take multiple spots
Right.
in the SERPs as well.
It's all about real estate there, and that's what we love.
We own the top of the SERP using video and blogs.
Yep. And
events
images.
especially
Yep.
can do incredible stuff.
Yep.
So to kind of, we're getting near the end, so just wanted to ask, what do you think, as far as social and SEO goes, I got to ask this question. Wiss is probably already wincing because he knows the way I think about this.
No, I didn't.
I'm not a big believer that social is a ranking factor. I'm more of a believer that it's a verification. In other words, if you want to break into a universal search, you use the social to move the temporal signals to get your into the search. So as far as the ranking factor, no, but as a signal, yes. And since we all are kind of as much SEOs, the guests here especially, are as much SEO as social, what are your thoughts on that? Start with Justin. I know he has a few ideas on it as well.
He has an opinion.
Social has fuck all to do with ranking
Use
and
that
SEO.
word, someone's coming over to slap you upside of the head.
Bring it on. No, it's got bugger all to do directly. It's great, yeah, announce something, you're doing something, push it out there. The only reason that social can affect ranking for SEO, in my experience, is some way or other it will generate you links.
Yeah, and
Simple
it's
as
not
that.
really the links either. It's more about citations and stuff too.
Yeah, citation links, whatever way you want to drum it down.
But there is a
But
bit
it's
of a
just-
difference.
it's-
The citation is more of a mention.
Yeah, but I don't think the channel itself. I don't think Twitter, and as Adele says earlier, Google hate them. Google Plus may have a good influence later. We're not sure. We all know sort of what's going on there, and that might have an effect, and we don't know. But there's no way a Facebook status update, a Facebook offer, a Twitter tweet, a retweet, or anything from any other third-party company, Google will not allow that to affect the rankings. It wouldn't make sense to any business. I don't care. You know, it just doesn't make logical sense. So, yeah, it's a contributor, but it's not a direct influence at all, a direct effect.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is that there are only very few parts of Twitter and Facebook that are actually even indexable, which any SEO worth his salt has already figured out that that's why those signals, not a big deal, because they're not indexable. If Google doesn't know about it, how can they use them?
So,
Adele?
question. I have a question. So you're saying that Google actually goes after and apply the robot.txt rules and abide by it?
Sorry?
I mean, do you think that...
Let's hope they do. Or
Oh,
it's,
Google, like what with
hey,
Twitter? With Twitter, it'll actually go in and index every tweet, etc., etc., etc.
That's why they read everything.
They probably are, but they just, if it was the case that Google were using tweets and stuff to influence search, one, they can't be found to be doing it because it would be massively detrimental to their share price, because they've said that it doesn't in such and such a way after their agreement expired with Twitter. And I think they could use it internally as some sort of gauge and signal, but I don't think it's applied in any form or fashion. Because it's simple to test. Pick a keyword, set up a website, throw 10 pages on it, and go and buy 50 million retweets on Fiverr.com. You won't rank.
But let me ask you something. Did you ever see an actual hashtag search, a Twitter search hashtag actually ranking in the search results?
Nope.
No, I'm seeing them a lot.
Yeah, hashtag,
I'm saying I'm only saying from
Justin,
experience.
With Sam, you should remember and take a look and do a little search. You'll find that hashtags, the robot text, has been removed from the search in Twitter.
Yeah, but this is not related to the one before.
It can't be indexed, sir. It can't be part of the thing. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
And let's hope that they're following robots' text. Because if they're not, we're all effed. Good.
Well, let me ask you something. You never landed on a page where they show the actual link, and below it in the meta description they say, "Oh, we don't have a meta description for it because it's included in the robot.txt." This actual URL is blocked.
Link pointing to a robot text page. Yeah.
You never saw that? Here you go.
Yeah.
But that's different than a social signal. Sorry, I just don't.
Well,
Well, that's for another time. Del, you agree with some then?
I can see both sides of it. The thing is, Google may not be picking up for ranking, but it's still watching click-throughs. So you can see tweets within Google search results. If people are seeing that and they're clicking through, that is a signal. So while one may not be a signal alone, if there is other activity that would be considered one of the 200 plus signals, and it is being found, it's being clicked on, it's being shared outside of just the Twitter stream. It's being people take tweets and they include them in regular blog content, and they include them on site content. And if people are taking that and they're putting it in and they're giving that any value on another platform outside of just Twitter, then yes, you can see that. So again, it's not it's just another way to distribute content. And if people are taking it and they're putting it into, let's say they're putting it into Tumblr, that you're going to tell me that Tumblr's not going to become part of the new Yahoo algorithm when it comes to content being shared? I don't think they spent all that money for no reason.
Well, they've already said that they're going to use Tumblr. They're going to actually
it's their blogger, it's their blog spot.
Tumblr and put it into Yahoo Sports and places where they're really weak, and Tumblr is strong, like fashion. Fashion is huge on Tumblr.
Right.
And fashion on Yahoo is not so much. So,
Yahoo's not very fashionable, no.
Yeah, so that's how they're going to use Tumblr. I actually saw a interview on CNBC between Marissa Mayer and with the guy who owned Tumblr, and that's what they were saying, basically. And they're going to probably leave Tumblr arm's length. I'm a big Tumblr fan, like been on there for 3-4 years now, posting, and actually have my own domain there. Is there anything, tip or whatever, that y'all want to leave with, or is there any questions?
Nobody wants to jump in?
No
I would
questions
say
coming on the hashtag or anything, I guess. So we're still trying to get an audience for that sort of thing. Well, it'll come hopefully someday, especially, have enough personality and make it worth listening. Right deal. So, any last thoughts from Justin? Well,
Facebook, man, make good use of the special offers. Try them because they work. We have found them to kick ass. For some reason, I don't know why, it's the same old thing, old style marketing, people love a special offer. So create a special offer, promote it in their people's streams, make it so that they have to take a voucher or get emailed some type of discount or bonus, or, make them feel special in some way or other, and you will make sales out of it.
There you go. A tip from the Justini. And Marjorie, anything from you?
Closing thoughts? Well, I think that it's really interesting that everyone is saying that they're not seeing SEO benefits, or that they don't really tie SEO benefits to social. I tend to track things much more qualitatively than quantitatively, and I don't get nearly as nerdy and technical in the SEO metrics as I possibly could. I correlate a large part of our SEO success to our heavy engagement on social, but it's not just social. We use social really as syndication as much as for engagement.
Just remember the mantra for correlation does not equal. Causation.
So I will. You're absolutely right. And that being said, with that as a qualifier,
Never tell Terry that.
Don't agree with me. Anyway, Steve doesn't like to see that.
So to disagree with you,
that's it. You would be just like Steve then.
Right. So I did notice, I have to say, there was one particularly competitive keyword, apartments plus our city name. I mean, the I Ching, the holy grail of keywords for our particular market, which, rent.com and all of these huge aggregate sites typically dominate. So we were ranking somewhere around page 2, page 3. I added G+ author attribution to all of our articles, online and offline, and we have multiple authors, so I hooked all of those up and all of our G+ personal profiles, LinkedIn, la la la. Within the next 2 weeks, we were in the top 3 spots.
Yeah, well, that could be when you're logged in or whatever. Who knows?
No, it was with logged. I mean, I did my test.
Yeah.
Oh, Terry, don't be so cruel.
Pardon me?
Don't be so cruel.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just remember what you're saying, though, is that at a local level, right, it's different than going for the term apartments, the universal term apartments. At a local level, that could go on because what Wissam put up there is a link to the hashtag Beirut, which is really funny because if I type Syria or Jerusalem or any Middle Eastern place that's in the news majorly at the moment, I thought it was having something to do with the mentions of the place or whatever. I can't find any other hashtag search result. So at a local level, you'll more likely get hashtag and social stuff appearing at a local level, which could influence you on local search and the Venice stuff a hell of a lot more. So there's 2 levels to it as well. Or maybe I wasn't being clear.
You have to remember also, in social, you get a lot of nice citation verification, which to me is huge. Bigger than links now. That's what I've come to, the conclusion.
I agree.
Adele?
I would agree with that too. I mean, you have to look at who your market is. I mean, if you're going widespread and you're international, then if you don't have the placement within individual countries or whatever it is that you're selling or promoting within that country, you're not going to get it whether you use a lot of social or no social. But I can see the correlations as well between our promoting via social and then seeing when people take content and they carry it to their channels, again, going back to, say, the community managers or people that are active within social communities, if they're taking content that we're creating and they're spreading it through theirs, I am seeing boost within traffic. I see a boost within search rankings, but then again, that could be attributed to click-through.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't matter where it's shared. It's just that it's being shared, it's getting picked up, and you're getting click-through. Click-through is a signal. So while social may not be the signal, it could be one of the other 200 factors that's getting picked up that's bringing it back. But my one takeaway is I wouldn't say social's nothing, run away, let it go, it's not worth it. I think that we do need to continue to diversify efforts, and this is just another effort, another tool in the kit that you have to put some time into it, not a lot, but some. And if you do start to see more value, put a little more time. If you don't see the value, then steady as she goes. But you've got to try it out. You've got to put some time into it to see if it does give you any return on that investment.
Totally.
I would add one more thing to that, which would be to really pay attention to and invest in the quality of your content that you're sharing. If you don't have good content that is targeted to your audience, that is providing value, that is interesting and engaging, that can be a successful launching pad for people to have a conversation from, then you're just basically shouting, ads through a megaphone. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's the most important metric to keep your finger on in terms of engagement is what are people interested in talking about, and then talk about that, spark that conversation, and and then your followers, your engagement, your metrics. You don't have to worry about those so much because what you're doing is you're building brand authority, obviously.
Okay, so is there any questions from any of the guys here, Gab's watching the chat here. I don't see anything. Just trying to think of, how we can kind of end this on a good note.
Can I finish it on a good note by recommending everyone goes and buys a little Lego man and sticks it on top of your camera when you're doing a hangout, because then you can speak to him and it's a lot more natural. Preferably one that kind of looks like yourself.
That's funny.
So he sits up there now and I speak to him, and it makes
He's
it look like I'm actually having a
Yeah.
chat. Yeah, he's a wee
That's a
pasty
great
lad,
idea.
Because you're sitting,
red hair.
you're sitting in an empty
Everything.
office, apparently.
You could buy a bunch of them and sit them up top, like 10 of them. That way it would actually be the number of people in the hangout.
I'm going to get one that's Terry. He'll have a wee Viking sword.
I think
They
they
look
have
angry
one
all
of
the
those
time.
already. You could go just get like a Gimli Lego man, right?
There you go.
You need some troll Lego men as well. Don't forget
Yep.
the trolls.
There you go, Terry. We finished on a high note.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay,
Now
so
go make lots of money.
yeah. Well, I do end this one like that too, Justin. You'll see. Hang on.
I was hoping to slip
Justin,
that.
this is his
Steal your
favorite
finishing
part,
words.
the way I end a show. So, since there are any more comments from the guests here, and okay, then I guess that's got pretty close to an hour for you this week, folks. We're kind of debating whether we're going to change things up a bit here. Next week, I don't think there will be a show because I'll be at SES Toronto, and unless I can do the interviews and stuff from there, it's going to be a rough go. So, say goodbye, Justin.
Terry says, go make lots of money.
And Marjorie, nice to meet you and introduce you to the community. And
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And thank you so much again to Gabby for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
okay, thank you. And Adele, any?
No, nothing to add. I've enjoyed it very much. Thanks so much for having me, and can't wait to see you guys at the next one. Not next week, but week after.
Thanks a lot.
Enjoy your vacation.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate all the appreciation. I guess that's what the word I was looking for. So to end this, I'll just say to all the fine folks out there, go make lots of money.